Welcome to Peculiar Stories, where we explore the fascinating world of near-death experiences and offer new perspectives on the meaning of life and death. Our goal is to shed light on these profound stories, deepen your understanding of life, and provide valuable insights to our audience. Whether you're new here or simply joining us again, we're thrilled to have you on this journey. If you enjoy what we do, consider subscribing to our channel to stay updated on our latest content, and don't forget to hit the like button to help our content reach a wider audience. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be transported to the edge of life and beyond. On today's story, Dave claims he walked with God in heaven, where he was given a gift of reading people's mind and touching their heart. Without further ado, let's get to the story. My name is Dave. I struggled for a while attempting to explain my experience to others, but all I got in return was cynicism and incredulity. I urge everyone to emphasize that there are support and study groups available for survivors if they are aware of someone who has gone through such an event. I had a heart catheterization on Friday, March 17, 2006, to identify an unusual stress test. Although the test results were required before deciding on a course of treatment, I was also diagnosed with arterial fibrillation. Sadly, open-heart surgery was the only option when the cardiac catheterization discovered a blockage on the left side of the heart. The two blockages could be replaced by two different arteries. The doctors believed this was a routine procedure, despite the fact that my wife was terrified. But because the blockage was so severe, in the widow's heart, we were told that I would have to stay in the hospital and that the procedure would be planned for Monday a.m., March 20th, 2006. We were welcomed by friends and co-workers from work the evening before the procedure. Everyone assured them that everything would go smoothly and that this was a routine procedure. Even better, we were in Kansas Heart Hospital in Wichita, Kansas, a specialty hospital. I approached the procedure with a relaxed attitude initially. That is, up until the evening of March 19, 2006, a Sunday. That evening, everyone had left, and my family had intended to return the following morning. The hospital staff performed their regular tasks and started an IV in order to prepare for the procedure, along with the necessary testing and preparations. I wandered the hospital with my IV tree since I couldn't sleep comfortably. I didn't know what was going to happen because I was in a tiny hallway with an exit door. The large two exit doors opened. Outside was an ambulance service car and driver walking in. I turned around while still standing in place and was horrified to see a hospital bed being rolled down the hallway and towards the exit with a body bag with a deceased patient. This hospital didn't have emergency services. As I realized I had no one to talk to, my carefree mood changed to fear. The medical team put me to sleep with a sedative. It was Monday, March 20th, 2006, 7 a.m., and surgery time had arrived. My wife was at my side as I was wheeled away by the nurses after they had prepared me to leave. The lights went out as I was wheeled into the surgery room. As soon as I regained consciousness in the afternoon, I was informed that the procedure went smoothly. Since it was an open-heart procedure, the physicians bypassed two arteries on the left side and carried out a maze treatment to treat the arterial fibrillation condition. My clinical data showed that after the procedure on March 20th, 2006, my body vitals were normal, and that arterial fibrillation was still present as evidenced by the irregular heartbeats. The idea was to heal from surgery and then consider alternative treatments. No doubt about it, what I'm about to say, which took place on March 22, 2006, was an NDE and can be distinguished clearly from typical hallucinations occurrence caused by medication from such serious disease and therapy. I know the difference in sensation from my experiences. I had various hospital experiences, including being attended to, or not, sedated, and even treated while unconscious. After I was in a coma, I did start to lose track of time. My first day of business was over, and guests were departing for the day. Due to the patient's condition, the hospital time restricted visitor visits while they were in the intensive care unit. The first evening following the operation was when I ran into problems. In the middle of the night, I had respiratory failure. I felt better the following day and was let out of the machine early. My progress was hit or miss throughout the course of the following 2 days, and things weren't going well. There were doubts as to whether I had internal bleeding or an illness that was the root of my respiratory difficulties. The physicians were perplexed and worried. To try to figure out what was wrong, the doctors kept administering therapies and conducting tests. It was now March 22, 2006, and the day had become less energetic. I experienced respiratory failure once more. I remember feeling as though I were drowning, with heavy breathing, weak breaths, flattened lungs, screaming for air, and eventual death. I was mentally yelling for aid because I was craving the ventilator's magical sound. In use, the ventilator plays a variety of music. It was dark, the room lights came on bright, the room was cold, and the curtains were pulled around the bed. 4 IV poles were on my bed with bags, and there were numerous doctors and nurses watching over me. I can breathe again when I hear the machine's tones in operation. With the help of more blankets, the physicians and nurses helped me feel comfortable. The 2 nurses remained seated in front of the observation window for hours without moving. My vitals and condition deteriorated as I remained on the ventilator, indicating that something was wrong. The doctors were baffled and quarreling among themselves, and my wife was in a tizzy and frantically praying. Renal failure struck me. My body was about to shut down. My family found it difficult to watch me suffer. The likelihood of my survival was dwindling. Without understanding what was wrong, the doctors were having difficulty. They advised my wife to phone my immediate family late in the day because I might not make it through the night. I came upon the craziest thing I can ever remember at this depressed time. The worst time of my life was about to begin. It was very different from anything I had ever encountered during a hospital stay, event, dream, or hallucination. I don't know how this happened, but I was aware that I was in trouble. I was outside of my body and in my spirit. I was outside the hospital's hallway leading to the emergency room. My coworker was on her way to see me. He halted to talk to someone right outside the emergency care doors. Case day and day. I looked about and noticed the portraits on the walls. I had noticed the one of the farmland scene on my earlier tour through the hospital's hallways when I was in good condition. He had a reminder-like expression on his face and was shaking his head. No. I was aware that I would fail. Next, I found myself in a dimly lit conference room with several doctors seated inside. One of them was standing and presiding over the others while presenting charts and case details. I tried to scream poison, but it was ineffective. Death was near, and I was terrified. My brief encounter continued. I had the impression that I was underground, and for some reason, I remembered seeing a statue of the Thinker. Then it got dark, really hot, extremely hot, was surrounded by rocky, dusty terrain that reminded me of an underground canyon, and I was being led downward as the heat increased. I passed out and awoke in a blinding light that was the sun. I turned to look at the ground and saw mountains covered in trees, and a valley with a lovely river flowing through it. As I turned again, I saw the river flow into an uninhabited ocean. Pure beauty, without any utilities, people, or bridges. I felt vibrant. I made it through the darkest hours, and my night ended up in the hospital. I had my walk with God in my head. The prayers of my wife were heard, and I was given new life. Medical testing, medication adjustments, and a procedure to make sure no internal bleeding was occurring were performed. The physicians were happy to see that I recovered, but remained baffled and perplexed. I was hospitalized for over 30 days after the physicians put me in a coma, during which time I spent around 20 days on a ventilator, 24 in the intensive care unit. Even though it was in a hospital, the air smelled so good, delicious, cold, refreshing, and so vibrant I know what it feels like to breathe again. There is nothing like the first breath of life again. I recall my awakening after getting off the machine, and I asked my wife, "Well, how did it go?" referring to the operation. After pausing, she turned to face me and said, "Honey, you've been here 20 days. I talked to her saying, "You know, this had to be from above," as my mind raced from what I had just experienced and all the days that had melted together at that period. She claimed to have been requesting this miracle in her daily prayers. I committed my life to Christ on that day and have done so ever since. My own life has changed. I find that I have a very compassionate, giving life. I feel as though He has literally blessed me with life and touched me. Only those who have been touched in any way would understand the gift that I've been given. He's very present in me. I can actually sense Him. I can sense someone's desperation, happiness, and whether they are carrying grief by looking at them. Even though this is a wonderful gift, my history has cost me. I'm here to share His grace with all people. The irony is that He is always present and is patiently waiting for you to receive Him.